G'day guys and welcome back to Supercoach with DR. Today we're going to have a look at the top 10 highest priced players in our forward lines for Supercoach 2020. So there's a few players that I like and have been in my side basically since the start. I've had Whitfield and Dusty right there from the start, and Heaney's actually been in and out, as I experiment with some different structures. But in an ideal world, I'll have Whitfield, Martin and Heaney as my F1 to F3. So there was only actually 3 out of the top 10 highest averaging players, or highest price players anyway, from last year that had career best seasons. We had Lockie Whitfield with an average of 111.2 up from 99.9, got very close to the 100 in 2018. Walters at 100.8 up from 88.9 all the way back in 2013. And then we had Jeremy Cameron at 92.8, going up by around 3 from his average in 2017 where he got 89.1. So we'll start with Lockie Whitfield. I'm not going to talk too much about him, as I think we should all select him in our teams with great confidence. It'll be in the top 3 highest averaging forwards in 2020. He's a gun, running machine, elite decision maker. Just make him your F1 and pay up, because I think even at 604k, I think he's still pretty good value. Michael Walters, so he's been a burn man for me in the past. But look, he really got it together, playing all 22 games last year and hitting the 100 average for the first time in his career. And funnily enough, he didn't score the most, he didn't kick the most goals he ever has in a season before. I assume that he would have, but he kicked the 40 last year. But back in 2013, kicked 46 goals for a Supercoach average of 88.9, which is his second highest average. And he kicked 44 goals back in 2015 for an average of 81.4. So how did he bump up all these scores, and what was that, by 10 points in the end? Well, he kicked the ball more than he ever has, smashing his previous season high for kicks by 59. He had a career high for handballs, and obviously that means, total disposals for that matter, and also laid more tackles than he ever has. He's a damaging midfielder, but also a really damaging forward. So he should be in the higher averaging forwards, but my only concern is that he's only hit the 100 average once in his career. So look, it's a no from me, but there's no real reasons not to start this fella. As I said, he really got it together back, last year in 2019. So the next player, Dusty, will he ever get back to his 119 average back in 2017? I don't know. Last year, he actually yielded his lowest average in the last 5 years, and he frustrated many of his owners. He had 3 of his highest scores in the first 6 rounds. Well, they were his highest scores. Three of his the highest scores in the first 6 rounds with 130 plus. But then had 2 of his 3 lowest scores come in last month. So look, in short, I can't see myself not selecting him, and I'd actually say it's probably a greater risk not starting him than starting him, Dusty. So I think most of us should probably have him in our sides. Gaz, mate, we've loved him in the past. The best Supercoach player of all time, but he's getting over the hill. Look, he'll definitely be a POD, a pod if you select him. But unfortunately, I'm not looking at the great man this year. And he actually, in 2019 had his lowest average in the past 13 years. So I can't see any reasons for him to bump that average up from what he did last year. So unfortunately, I'm saying no to Gaz, but thanks for all your service in the past, mate. You've been an absolute champion. Heaney, I've talked a lot about him, in previous videos. If he plays mid, I think he'll go boom. But look, even if he still plays forward a bit, I think he is still, going to be a really safe pick. Isaac Heaney. We'd love for him, as I said, to play forward, but even if he doesn't do that, as we said, then he should be a really good pick anyway, I think. Toby Green, so Punchables, look, his downfall when it comes to Supercoach, apart from some of his dipstick behaviour, is the fact that he's an all-Australian quality forward. And we've talked many times about GWS's stacked midfield. Look, when played forward last year, he only hit the 100 twice with a top score of 106. So, not terrific. However, let's look at how he scored when playing basically as a full-time mid. And this is basically the time where I got him in last year. So a really good decision to get him in at this stage last year. He went bang, 138, 112, 107, 134, 122, 115. Amazing. In that period of time, he made 160k, and these were actually all of his highest scores for the year. And it all came at that time where he played midfield. So, look, if he plays full-time mid, he'd be in the top 3 averaging forwards without a doubt, in my opinion. But if he plays forward, expect to get some of those more mediocre scores. A positive is that he doesn't have a really low floor, but also don't expect to get a full 22 games with Toby. He's only netted a total of 16 games, 7 games, and another 16 games in his past 3 seasons. So we know what he can produce when he's on the field and he's playing midfield. But for me, I don't know if he'll spend enough of that midfield time. Look, he'll probably still be in those highest averaging forwards, Green, because looking at the top team crop, there's not many names that really scream out at me, and there's not, as I said, too many names that generally excite me out of this list of players. So, look, could still be a great pick, but certainly I wouldn't say don't be expecting to get those scores like we saw during those last 7 rounds. Zeeble, he's an interesting pick. Oh, look, I've heard rumours his relationship with Scott was a bit broken. I've heard other people say they were really close, so I'm not sure what to believe. But he seemed to play some better footy under Reece Shaw, as I suppose the whole North Melbourne side did. Although he seems to smash his body pretty regularly, he's actually been really durable, playing 21 games, 22 games, 19 games, 22 and 22 in the past 5 years. That was really surprising to me. I thought that he probably would have missed a lot more time than that. He scored 6 125 plus scores in 2019, along with 6 scores of 65 and under. So he's produced some of those great scores, and we love those 125 plus scores, particularly from our forwards. But with 6 scores under 65, that's really not great for our sides. He finished off the year well, averaged over 100 in the past 4 rounds. So, look, I think it's safe to say that he'll average 80 at worst and probably 95 at best. And to be honest, he's hovered between that for season averages from 2012 to 2019. So I wouldn't be overexcited with the Zeeble pick, but I don't think that you can go really, really wrong in saying that at the same time. So next we look at Jeremy Cameron. So I bought him in last year, broke my rule of not selecting any key forwards, and really went a long way to stuffing my season. If you're prepared to ride through the highs and the lows, go for it. But there's no key forwards for me this year. I think if you're going to select one, then go for Tommy Lynch from Richmond at, I don't know, he's about 380k, I think, or whatever he costs. On to the next guy. I haven't got him on the field. I couldn't fit him on there. Kane Lambert. At 18 games last year, he hit the 100 mark on 5 occasions. As a pick, that doesn't really excite me too much. He's hovered between an average of 86 to 88.8 over the last 3 years. So unless something drastically changes, expect him to pretty much average around that same mark again, I think. Jordan De Goey, so he averaged 87.8 from 17 games in 2018, 87.2 from 16 games in 2019. So looking at the raw scores there, pretty similar years. Look, what needs to happen for him to take the next step? Is it spending more time up the ground? Is it just getting more consistency in his game and body and playing 20 plus games for a year? I'm not too sure. If there's any Maggie supporters out there that could give us your thoughts, that'd be great, because I'm really not too sure on De Goey, and someone that I sort of skip past pretty quickly. So look, who comes in? Well, just up the top of my head, I think there's some fallen primo options. When you're Stephen and you're Smith. I know Smith has only had that real breakout year a couple of years back. Is he a fallen primo? I'm not too sure, but he's someone I'm looking at pretty closely. I've mentioned, my breakout contender videos. I like, your Brayshaws, your Akers, Fiorini's, McPherson as a smoky, or, a Parfit Martin type. So there's a few of these guys, all certainly with question marks on them, but there's a number of players who I think could certainly come into that top 10 for one reason or another. I think it's really open, that top 10 now forward lines this year, and probably I struggle the most to predict the top 10 highest averaging forwards out of any of the lines, I think. And as I said, I'm staying away from the key position players, even though a couple always seem to make their way into the top 10, like we saw with Jeremy Cameron for this year. But I think I mentioned before, Tom Lynch, in my opinion, will be the highest averaging key forward. Actually presents probably a little bit of value at his price as well. And Tex Walker, there's been talk of him playing on a wing. Could he do a Richo? I'm really not too sure. Again, Adelaide supporters, let us know what your thoughts are there. But I've heard a few rumours coming out of South Australia that Tex may be looking to push higher up the ground and play that wing role, like I said, with Richo. So if you can give me any more information on that, guys, that would be fantastic. As well as any players that I may not have mentioned. As I said, the players to come into the top 10, I sort of just went off the top of my head there, and certainly may have missed a few guys there. But let us know what you think, guys. That's my thoughts, some very quick thoughts on the top 10 there. As I said, very, very open, the forward line this year, but the safe picks for me are your Whitfield, Martin, and Heaney at this stage. There's certainly some value with those breakout contenders, as we said, but it'll be really interesting to hear other people's thoughts on where we should go in regards to the forward line. Thanks again, guys. The next video I plan to do was actually a great idea from a great poster in Supercoach Talk, Freo Tragic, to maybe have a quick look at the buys for 2020, because that's something that I haven't done this year, and I may even need to look to restructure my team at the moment, depending on what I find about the buys. So thanks again for watching, guys. Appreciate all the support, and I'll see you back in the next video. Cheers. Bye.